I'm severely just pissed off, and I really just have to be honest with people. The situation with the Irish festivals, I know I have to keep on about it, but it's honestly, I wouldn't treat anybody in the world like this. I wouldn't treat anybody who was a prisoner, because literally this is the way they've been treated. Prisoners have to pay themselves out of the army. To be honest, if they didn't have to pay themselves out of the army, I might as well say it straight to Liam Falcon, to Michael D. Higgins, they would get out of the army. And I would like to say this to Liam Falcon and Michael D. Higgins. These men and women of the Irish Defence, brave men and women, who dedicate their lives to the Irish Defence Forces, who pledge their lives to this country, who pledge their lives to protect the people of Ireland, to serve the people of Ireland. They take them for granted. Really, they take them so much for granted, it's unbelievable. Over 800 are preparing to leave this year. That's not like any other army. I'm sure you go to any other army in Europe. I'm sure it's not over 800 going to leave. Maybe some might be retiring. That's understandable. But they're leaving because they're not retiring, because they're buying themselves out of the army, because they're fed up with the army. And it's not because it's not because of the people in the army. It's the government's pay and the government's absolutely stupid idea of, you know what, let's treat the army like dogs. I wouldn't even treat a dog. I don't know why I'm even saying that. Dogs, I would treat dogs better. I say Michael D. Higgins treats his dogs better than he treats the army. And there's a huge amount of money he spends on dog food, let alone giving it to the army. And he's Commander-in-Chief of the army. And I'm personally saying this. And if I do meet Michael D. Higgins, or if I ever see Michael D. Higgins, I will, if it's for anything, I would not doubt it for a second. I would not even say hello to him. I would absolutely tear into him about the Defence Forces. And that's as simple as that. Because I'm up to my boiling point now. I'm boiling now. I'm starting to boil altogether. Because this is an absolute... Anybody who knows Irish history, right? We know that we had to take up arms to get our independence. We had to fight for independence. The Irish Free State Army had to fight in the Irish. Obviously, it wasn't the Free State Army during the War of Independence. Then the Irish Free State Army was the next thing in the Irish Civil War. And we all know that so many men and so many women give their lives for this country. In the Easter Rising, in the War of Independence, and in the Civil War. Ireland is a soldier's country. Ireland's known as the soldier's country. We are betraying the people of 1916, the people who fought for our independence. We are stabbing them in the back. More or less treating, like the Irish Free State Army was created by Michael Collins. He was the first person, the first general of the army. I think it was, at least maybe I'm wrong in saying that. But that's what the Irish Army is today. It was the Irish Free State Army, and it turned into the Irish Army. Now, obviously 800 people, 70 officers going to leave. And it takes a long time to become an officer. It takes 7 or 8 years to become an officer. And that's a long time. Imagine all the amount of money imagine all the time they give, and all the training they had to go through, all the hours that they put in. And you know what, they throw it out the window. I'm sure if you ask any of these 70 officers that are leaving this year, would they want to throw their career out the window? They would say no. They would say no, of course they would say no. But they have to. They have families to keep. They have bills to pay. Liam Falcon and Michael D. Higgins might not understand that. They might have an unlimited paycheck. But the army doesn't. You get more in Tesco's, you get more in Dunnes Stores. And you know what? These men and women, they serve more money than anybody else in the state, and along with doctors and nurses. Along with nurses and teachers, sorry. They deserve more money. Well, it's truthfully honest. Honestly. Because they have long hours to work. They have terrible conditions. Terrible conditions, the army. And the same with the nurses and doctors. It's just the same all around the state. And it just comes to a point. It just comes to a point where you're just like, you might as well go and get prisoners and put them into the army. That's more or less what you might as do. Maybe you might give them a tiny bit of pocket money. At least they might get home leave sometimes. I bet you any money there's more things we don't know about the army. And they can't speak. The army can't speak, they can't say anything. Until they get out of the army. They can't say anything until they go out of the army. And that's why there's not a bigger fight about it. Because their wives and other girlfriends have to stand up for them. And that's why, and I honour them because they're always trying to raise awareness, trying to motivate people to stand with them. And the same with veterans, people who serve this country 70, 80, 60 years, 50 years, some of them. And the government just ignored them. Ignored them. People who served in the Congo, people who served in Lebanon, people who served all around the world, getting shot, losing arms, losing legs, losing every bit, spilling their blood for Ireland. And they know the government is like, we don't care. You were owed Ireland. We don't care anymore about Jews. We don't care about the army. We just care about getting our wages. That's more or less what the government's on about. And I have to say this, any man and any woman, I have said this so many times to people, if you can buy yourself out of the army, and I'm going to say this straight to people, because it's never going to get any better, to anybody who's in the army and the navy and the air corps, you served your country with the highest dignity and the highest honour, and I salute you. And everybody in this country salutes you for your service. But I'm going to say this to every man and every woman in the Irish army. If you have the money, please, for your children and for your family's sake, and for your sake, leave the army. You deserve much better than what they're treating you like. It's simple as that. And I say that to people with the highest dignity for the soldiers who served their country with great distinction. And I'm sure anybody would say, it takes a lot to be a soldier. And the government are just treating you like prisoners. Thank you.